Hello, and welcome to episode 151 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I am Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular dudes drinking some highly irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
Oh, buddy, it is that time of the year again. Spoilers are coming out. We got new cards to talk about. There's so many things to talk
It's
about.
just, it's just, I don't even know what to do. I'm
Yeah.
still learning most of Markov Manor. So,
Well, forget all of that.
yeah,
Kind
useless
of.
information now.
Just about. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, each week we bring a beer, we drink it, we rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So, with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
Okay. This week we have a beer from Sawdust City Brewing Co., which we
Hmm.
have done a tap takeover of
Yeah,
before. They're out of sort of the Muskoka region, which is kind of like cottage country here in Ontario.
yeah.
And the beer is called Two Pad Stack. For those who don't know, this is an old school goalie move in hockey when the goalie like lies completely horizontally and the two pads are stacked on top of each other to block
Hmm.
the shot. Um, it's generally considered to be a poor technique in modern day standards, and the players will generally just rip it right over your pads. But there are still some every once in a while someone whips it out and makes the save, and everyone just goes nuts because it used to be like their MO. Nobody could lift
Hmm.
it that high in such a short amount of space, so you just stack your pads.
Hmm.
But now every player can. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know if they're saying this beer is like old school or like just awesome, but it's a double IPA, I think, is probably most of the joke. And
Yeah.
it's a West Coast style coming in at 9%, Zach.
9%.
9%.
We don't do 9% very much anymore. We used to do them very often. I used to bring them like every week to the show.
Yeah.
Life is different now. So we have been holding on to this guy for a while. So let's get into it. Let's crack this puppy open. I would like to say that in the actual picture, it looks like the goalie is 100% just missing the puck. It looks like it's actually just going to go on the other side and not
Yeah,
even go
not
to that
it's just
side of the goal.
completely unrelated to the stack at all. They should
Yeah. So anyway, here you
another
go.
weakness of the two pad stack.
Oh no, the two pad stack. It's mighty on the one side, but leaves the other side completely open.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Well, we've got some magic news. The Arena Championship number 5 is this weekend, actually, which is
Woohoo.
March 30th and the 31st. They are playing Explorer and Murders at Karlov Manor Draft. This is the last actual thing that matters for Murders at Karlov Manor. So once the Arena Championship is finished, everything is just focused on Thunder Junction, which is also coming out soon. The debut video was today, actually. So we just got like a ton of new spoilers just today, and we'll have over the next week and a half, we'll get the rest of them, and we'll be doing all those types of things. It'll be on Arena on April 16th, which is pretty soon. Because I'm also playing in a paper sealed RCQ on April 20th, which is very
Woohoo.
soon after the release. And that's not a lot of time to prepare. So it'll just kind of be like another, like a more intense pre release kind of.
Yeah, I'm hoping to join you. I think I might be able to.
Ooh, hoo, hoo.
Um, those that used to be one of my favorite ways to play was to join competitive events like PTQs back in the day of a sealed format that like just came out.
Hmm.
Um, because it was, everyone kind of doing things wrong in a competitive setting.
Yeah.
And whoever could kind of adapt the quickest usually did well. I I think it'll be a little different now just with the
With Arena. Yeah.
explosive learning that happens that people are going to come more prepared than you could possibly have imagined.
Hmm.
Whereas back in the day, it's like people have maybe watched an LSV draft video for this format or something. Like it came
Yeah.
out on Magic Online a few days ago. Um, but I did definitely love that. That was so fun. And
Mhm.
I found that I tended to do better in those ones. And then if I joined later in the season, when everyone had sort of figured the format out, um, I guess some of the advantages I had were no longer as
Yeah.
relevant.
Hmm.
So
Everyone had kind of learned the things that you innately just kind of knew. Um,
yeah, and even if I prepared as well, I still did worse. So it was like
sure.
the thing I'm good at, I guess, was solving formats a little faster, but that's a skill that is pretty useless these days. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if there was some tournament the night of the set coming out, it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. It has to
um,
be like the streamer showdown event or whatever,
right. Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
used to release it before the set's actually out. I would
Yeah. They don't.
dominate that.
I think they fired the people who were in charge of that because they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
It's a
right when
bummer.
I started being a streamer,
Yeah.
as if I'd be invited to those anyway. Um,
I'd
but
nominate you.
thank you, thanks, I appreciate that. Um, Jeff, we do have some pretty exciting regular news or arena regular news. Um,
Oh, I like that.
we had our own event this last weekend. So a friend of ours had put together a peasant cube for Arena. We were able to draft on Draftmancer and then direct challenge each other on Arena to play 3 rounds of Swiss for our little cube draft thing. Um, Jeff, what is a peasant cube and why is that what we did?
Yeah, so a peasant cube is a cube where there are no rares in the cube.
Hmm.
And if you don't know what a cube is, well, a cube is just a curated collection of cards. It's sort of like you create your own draft format.
Hmm.
So you choose, I think in this case it's 540, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, in this cube it
Uh,
was 540, but I think 360 is the lowest you can go.
right. Um, but you choose all these different cards and you build your own draft environment. So you'll build in synergies, you'll build in stuff like that. And there's only one of each card, so it's a little different from a regular draft where many people could open the same cards.
Hmm.
Um, but the cool thing about this one again, peasant means there were no rares, which meant you didn't have to spend, well, you
Rare
had to
wild
spend
cards.
maybe common and uncommon wild cards, but you did not have to spend rare or mythic rare wild cards to play, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, technically there were 3 of the 540 cards. 3 of them were rare wild cards, but those are all cards that aren't rare in other paper variations, so they shouldn't count like impact tremors and things like that. Um, but that didn't end up being an issue. And the peasant thing for arena is great, like you were just saying, because it makes it more accessible for the majority of people. Which is why we felt like we were comfortable doing it on our Discord and all that. And we all had
And
a
on,
blast. We
yeah,
had like a voice channel going and different tables, so you could talk to your opponent while you're playing them, and um, it was a lot of fun. I had a
yeah,
blast.
it was super
So
fun.
we are
Eh,
hoping to do more in the future at some point. So if that's something you're interested in, come to our Discord.
And well, Zach, I mean, we can't talk about the tournament without announcing the champion.
Oh, well, of course. Oh, you think I'm going to forget that? So, Jeff, would you like to do the honors of crowning our first champion of our Peasant Cube tournament?
All right, so the winner, grand champ. Actually, the cool thing about this tournament was it came down to a final battle. So
Hmm.
it's Swiss, right? So you kind of, I lost my first round, so I was immediately removed from contention. But you play, and then the 2-0s, the last match, there should only be two players at
Hmm.
2-0, and they play against each other, and winner take all kind of thing. And it came down to two of our Discord members.
Yeah.
Um, and that was turned into Justin on our
Hmm.
Discord channel against Dylan, who goes by Edrico37
Hmm.
on the Discord channel. I hear it was a nice tight match, but in the end, the champion was Edrico37,
Bow, bow,
our
bow,
very own.
bow. Da, 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 da. Nice job, man. Congrats.
Yeah, if you want to see all the deck lists, you can find our Discord channel and go check our
Hmm.
limited channel. Most people, I think, posted them.
Yeah.
And you could see Adrico's championship blue-black control list, which
Hmm.
was pretty sweet.
It was really sweet.
One
Oh
thing I noticed is like it didn't feel low powered, even though it was peasant.
no,
Like
I
maybe
loved my
relative to
deck
like a vintage cube or something, but relative to
for sure.
regular draft, it was still more powerful than regular draft by a substantial margin.
Yeah, everything felt sweet. I had a awesome well, I thought it was awesome. Uh
Jeez, Zach's deck.
white blue like blink deck. Um and so all my creatures just like drew cards when you played them and you just blink them and draw more cards and then bounce your opponent's creatures and then make
I
copies of
literally
your
just got
creatures.
mana ward every single turn.
And so I got to play Jeff at the end, which was a lot of fun. Sorry, I got to beat Jeff at the end is what I was trying to say.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I actually went 1-2, but all of my matches were fun too. So like
Hmm.
it wasn't any just getting blown out. Even though like I think the game that I lost to you, I had a very short window to win,
Hmm.
but it still felt like it was possible. And we had
It was
this
definitely
like
possible.
staring contest where Zach had a flicker effect that I
Hmm.
knew about, and I had a kill spell that he knew about, and so neither of us could pull the trigger on it because whoever plays it first loses, right? Like if
Hmm.
I try to kill first, he blinks. If he tries to blink, I kill it. And so we just kind of like stared at each other for quite a few turns before
It was a
I think
really long time.
you drew a second blink spell, and I was like, God damn it, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't deal with that with my single removal spell.
and I felt like I was losing that because yours cost 2 mana and mine was in the graveyard. It was momentary blink, so it cost 4 for the flashback. And I was like, it's so much harder for me to have my turns when I have to hold up 4 mana and you only need two. You can do like a
Yeah.
whole turn's worth of stuff and then still hold up two. So I was just waiting for something to change. But anyway, it was awesome. Congratulations again, Edrico37, also known as
Yes.
Dylan. Um, yeah,
And Justin on a pretty good run as well.
yes, of course, yes. But yeah, anyway, sick. Okay. Um, we're gonna do more hopefully in like maybe me and the other Dylan, night four, he was just talking about he created the cube. If we could do it every month, that'd be cool. So if people are interested, come check out the Discord. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
We're also just drinking beer the whole time, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, Jeff. Well, let's get into Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
Oof.
Hoo-wee! Do we have some cards to talk about? My oh my. Um, so I wanted to quickly just go over some of the mechanics of the set because we do know all of them now.
Yeah.
But then we can talk about some cards we like and some ways they're breaking down in the booster packs because our boosters are more complicated than ever. Holy moly. Um, it is just getting it really feels like seventh grade math, where it's just finally like, okay, so we're gonna start introducing you to more things like variables and
Yeah.
equations, and then like if you didn't figure it out earlier, I guess maybe not just math, but like maybe also like seventh grade Spanish, where it's like, well, if you did bad last year and you don't have that vocabulary, you're definitely not going to do well
Ooh
this
boy, are
year.
you gonna do
It's just
poorly
going to
this
get
year.
even worse. Um,
Yeah, most subjects, I guess, kind of build on each other like that, but
I don't know. English is it's a new book. You read a new
yeah,
book. It's not the same. Um,
that's true. That
me
might be
as
one of the exceptions
Yeah, I think
though.
me as someone who actually did fail Spanish, specifically knows that is rough. Um, but anyway, into mechanics. So Jeff, we have about 5 new mechanics like we usually have, and one we've already talked about, which
Yeah.
is doing crimes. So don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Anyway, you should probably do as many
think
crimes as possible,
yeah, I
actually.
think you want to do crimes in this
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, this is definitely something you want to be doing. So you're doing a crime every time you're targeting an opponent, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyards.
Okay.
There are also a bunch of cards that like pay off for doing crimes, but unfortunately, almost all of them are just like once per turn. This is voices for the debut video happened today, so this is what the designers were talking about. Is that most of the cards that say do like if you commit a crime, they only happen once per turn, so that you aren't incentivized to do as many crimes as possible in one turn and like combo.
Yeah.
Um, it's about getting a bunch of payoffs and then doing one crime that all the payoffs happen, which
I think that's the right way to
I
do
think is
it.
pretty fair.
Yeah. Otherwise, all the cards that don't do that turn into like gosh, what's that infect creature that you like that puts a poison counter for every time one of your
Oh,
creatures gets targeted?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Rot Priest.
Yeah, and then you just combo with the stupid marches or whatever.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, I march all your creatures, I committed 6 crimes, and you're dead,
Hmm.
kind of
Yeah. I don't know. That sounds fine to me.
thing. Venerated rot freeze. That
Yeah,
son of a. No, it's the right thing to do.
for sure, for sure, absolutely. Um, I was thinking we just like rattle off some of these mechanics,
Sure.
because then we'll get into cards and then they'll kind of pop up as we go. Also, the crime cards are like less exciting. I think we did talk about Nathan Stoyer's card does mention this already, so we have mentioned it already. But Jeff, plot. What's plotting a card?
Okay, so plotting a card is sort of a new way to like save it for later.
Hmm.
So it has a plot cost, um, and maybe it's easiest to just read a card.
Sure.
So just scroll until I see plot. Okay. Slick shot show off. One in a red for a 1/2 flying haste. Bird wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn, and it has plot for one in a red. So what that means is you can pay one in a red and exile it from your hand. Then you can cast it as a sorcery on a later turn for free.
Hmm.
And then you can only plot as a sorcery as well. So you can't like end step plot this, untap, play it as a sorcery
Yeah.
nonsense. Um, yeah, so it's basically it's kind of it reminds me a bit of Foretell,
Hmm.
except that you know what the card is. Like it gets exiled
Your
face
opponent
up.
knows. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, the opponent knows what card is.
Hmm.
Um, because the plot cost isn't always the same. The way Foretell works is like the Foretell cost was
Like,
always the same thing, so they
oh,
could.
right. It was always two. Yeah.
Yeah, to turn it face up was a different cost, but this is
Hmm.
more like I need to show you that the cost I paid is the actual plot cost of this
Hmm.
card, so it has to be face up. And then you cast it for free instead of for a reduced mana cost later. But
Hmm.
it is that sort of um I I have extra mana now, but I don't
Hmm.
actually want this effect right now. And so I'm gonna plot this, like I'm
Exactly.
gonna build this plan.
Yeah, Fortell had more like disguise creature type of thing or morph creature where you're like, oh, I have it's all the same cost, and you play it, and then it gets better later.
Yeah.
Um, the plot thing, I'm really, really excited for this, and specifically the card you just read. Slick Shot Show Off is like a hasty flyer that gets better when you play non-creature spells. So it has like this super prowess, and you can just take it out of your hand so it doesn't get hit with Deep Cavern Bat. And then on whatever turn you want, you can just play it for free plus a handful of cards to play on top of it. And it has haste. This is
Yeah.
like Picnic Ruiner's one of Picnic Ruiner's friends, I think. Like this
Well,
feels
yeah.
I
I mean,
like this.
imagine this card doesn't have plot, right?
Hmm.
It's a powerful card that a lot of decks want, and the issue you run into is on turn, like in your spell slinger deck, you want to play creatures and then spells,
Hmm.
but you also don't want to do nothing on turn two.
Yeah.
So what you do is you play this and you attack for one, and
Hmm.
you're kind of sad about it, and then they kill it, and you didn't get the chance to do the three, the five, the seven, like
Hmm.
the big explosive turn that this is capable of. And so you have that weird thing where you're like, should I play this on two? Or should I like hold it with my shock and then go like, boom, shock you. You
Hmm.
just took 5 damage. But then I did nothing on turn two. And so plot is such a good solution to that, where you're like, I'm gonna get it out of my hands to get away from bat. I'm gonna
Hmm.
not put it on the battlefield though,
So
because
it
then
doesn't die.
they'll
Yeah.
kill it and I won't have done any damage with it, or I'll have only done one. And like you said, the fact that it has haste, then boom, you untap with like full mana. You
Hmm.
just slam this for free and you go bang, 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 like spell, spell, spell. This thing is very good.
I think this card is awesome. Like
Yeah.
there's a shot that I mean this is well, we'll talk about those in later episodes, probably like our no pass list and everything. But like this card seems really exciting. It does all the things I really want it to do. And the other thing with plot that I really like is that it's not suspend. Where, suspend, you take it out of your hand, it's away for a while, and then it just counts down and comes into play.
Right.
You don't really get to like, you have to try to play around when suspend is ready to be done.
And
This
your
is
opponent
just,
can do that as well. In this
yeah,
case, your opponent has to like
guess.
always
Mhm.
consider that you might cast this card next
Yeah.
turn.
Because if they decide to tap out for something, you're like, okay, now it's time to do the whole thing.
Now I blow you up.
Mhm. But it gets to sit there for a long time, and then you do have that the same type of battle we were talking about in the cube draft. You will get to have that,
Yeah.
which I think is a really great part of Magic, where it's like I put this here. I'm assuming that you have something, and you can
Yeah.
hold a counterspell for it if you'd like, but I will probably just wait until it's clear to actually play it.
Right.
So also, there's a big synergy in blue red with playing multiple spells in a turn. So the
Right.
fact that you can do that over, like, oh, last turn's helping me cast two spells this turn because I plotted something. I think that's really cool. This is the one I think most excited for is plot. It seems the best to me, and I'm excited for it. I like it.
I think it seems like it has a lot of play.
Definitely a lot of play.
Excuse me.
Definitely exciting for you know both limited and standard, which is always
Yes,
the
I
hope.
love mechanics like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Always the hope. Um, the next kind of like vibe throughout the set, I wanted to quickly get your take on this. So,
Okay.
Outlaws, obviously it's Outlaws of Thunder Junction, are a big deal in this set, and there are cards that care about things being outlaws. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so let's say basically the one that really matters right now we have Vile Smasher, Gleeful Grenadier. Grenadier? That's how you pronounce that, right? Um,
Grenadier?
Grenadier? I think
Nah, it's gotta be Grenadier.
I just have to ask you because when I pronounce things wrong, you gotta drag me through the mud a little bit. But
I mean,
anyway,
I would say Grenadier,
oh,
but
okay,
in
sure,
I don't
but
know
yeah,
how he would say it in English.
yeah, well, French, Canadian, whatever. Anyway, so this card is a black and a red, so 2 mana total for a 3/2 legendary creature, Goblin Mercenary. And it says whenever another outlaw enters the battlefield under your control, Vile Smasher deals 1 damage to target opponent. And so it's saying that outlaw, what outlaws are, it's another grouping. So it's kind of like having a party. It is outlaws are assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks. That's 5 different creature types.
Yeah.
Um, what do we think about this grouping of like what does this feel like?
Yeah, this one is interesting. I mean, I wonder what led them to make this decision versus just doing what they did in Markov Manor, which was just add the type detective
Detective to
to
everything.
everything.
Hmm.
And they could have done that here. So the reason they choose not to is to have it synergize with different
Like,
sets
yeah, more backwards compatible and like
and
you,
forwards compatible. You don't have to
yeah,
make things an outlaw. Uh, um, my guess is that this is an attempt to like tie some stuff together for Commander
totally. Yeah,
more
that
than
makes sense.
anything else.
Hmm.
And they've, done the party thing in the past and they know it plays pretty well in limited.
Hmm.
Um, in limited, it was definitely more of, I mean, I don't know how heavy they go in this set. My guess is not quite as heavy
Hmm.
as that set did. With so
Yeah.
when it was only four and it was like this is the thing of this limited set, I think it's a cooler limited mechanic than I think this is probably going to be in this one. Um, but who knows? I mean, I feel like there's going to be times when I'm just like, oh right, that's technically an outlaw.
Or that's a rogue. Or like warlock is
Yeah,
the one I'll forget the most.
right.
Oh, right.
Like even reading this card, I'm like, why does it say another outlaw
Hmm.
when
This isn't.
because the reminder text is at the bottom, and I'm like,
Hmm.
this isn't an outlaw. Why does it say another outlaw?
And then when you look at the
Um,
bottom, it says, "Oh, mercenaries." Oh, this is a goblin mercenary. Technically, it's an outlaw.
right.
So like, yeah, it kind of like so it reminds me obviously of Party. It also randomly reminds me of like, remember when we had oh my God, in Kamigawa, what were they called when you like put a plus one counter or something or an aura on something or equipment? A creature
They were
was
called
like
modified.
modified. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that seemed to be a, even though I literally forgot in this exact moment, but that seemed to be like a really easy way to take something that's already part of Magic and make one word for it. So the grouping, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
This is kind of confusing because it's just a kind of a,
It's something you could so easily do another way.
or just like forget, like in the future.
Yeah.
But it is with us, it is here to stay. So I'm going to embrace it. And I'm just trying to figure out ways to remember all the different ones. So it's immediately I'm like assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, warlocks. So AMPRW. So AMPRW is the first.
Emperor.
That's the first idea. Now I was watching the debut video on stream today, and some folks in the Discord were there, um, and one of our very like fantastic. He was part of the Cube Night as well. He's very active on the Discord and in my stream a lot. I love him dearly. Came up with the funniest one. So I had come up with like, oh, maybe we do like romp. You know, it's like
Mhm.
WRAMP or like ramp, which is like RAWMP, but known as Maturin in our Discord or
Uh-huh.
Koldar in my stream. He came up with,
Or Eric.
or Eric, he came up with Mr. Paw. So MR dot PAW, Mr. Paw. And so then
Nice.
every time you see a creature, it's like, oh, it's another paw, Mr. Paw. It's a
Mr.
Mr.
Paw.
Paw.
I actually will remember that now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maturin, as I
Yeah.
know you by from the
Yeah, yeah.
Discord.
So that I think that's perfect. I think that Mr. Paw is exactly the way I'm going to remember all these cards. Because when I look at them, I was like, oh, is this a paw? Oh, yeah, this is a Mr. Paw. Okay, perfect.
Mr. Paw, Mr.
Yeah,
Paw.
it's Mr. Paw.
Yeah.
Rakdos is a Mr. Paw. We have Vile Smashers a Mr. Paw. We
Yeah.
have all these cards. It was like, okay, cool, cool, cool. There's this card also known as Mr. Paw.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
I think it's,
But then you're gonna see something that's a mount and be
yeah,
like,
it's like,
yeah,
wait,
Mr. Paw.
Mr. Paw? No, 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 no. That is not an assassin mount. Nope. Um, But anyway, I just thought that maybe that will be helpful for others out there. Just
I
think
was
of
trying to think of like
MRPAW.
War MP, like
Oh
War and
yeah.
Peace, but then
Oh,
like M, it's not an M.
it's not
Yeah.
an and.
Yeah. I'm only
Yeah,
gonna remember it because it's stupid and not for a real reason.
exactly. Well, here's another stupid way to remember Mr. Paw. Uh,
Yeah.
there you go. I
I don't
love
know,
it.
it's too clever. I might forget it.
I like love it so much.
Oh
I
no, it's great.
immediately
It's
thought it was
definitely the
hilarious.
best. As soon as I heard it, I was like, I can't imagine there's a better way to arrange
I
these
really
five
don't think that there
letters. Yeah.
is. So thank you
You
so much.
found it. You found
It's
it.
so helpful, and so funny. But I will be using that a lot, especially in prep for the RCQ.
Yeah.
Just have a Mr. Paw list of all the important Mr. Paws.
Yeah. You're just gonna literally, because it's in paper, you're gonna start saying it to your opponent as though
It's
it's
like
like common knowledge.
Mr.
Like,
Paw
trigger because it's a Mr. Paw.
because it's a Mr. Paw.
Yeah.
MR Paw. Anyway, so that's the only reason I really wanted to talk about that at all because I just thought it was fun. Um, Jeff, we have two more mechanics. What's the next one?
Um, well, we could. I'm gonna save the best for last. I'm assuming we're
Okay.
counting desert as a mechanic.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah. That wasn't part of the two I was talking about, but yes, let's talk
Okay.
about
I was like, if that's
deserts.
if that's one of the ones you're talking about, then oh, I remember the other one now. Anyways,
Yeah. It's in the show notes. I wrote it
let's.
down, but like
Oh,
it's
I'm
fine.
not, I'm looking at the cards.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
Deserts are a land type,
Hmm. Okay.
And some cards get bonuses because they know how to fight in deserts. I think it's only appropriate that
Hmm.
the card I choose to illustrate this is Cactarantula. So, so Cactarantula is a plant spider. It's a cactus spider. For 4 green, it's a 6/5, and it costs one less to cast if you control a desert. It has reach, and whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. And the art is literally a big old spider whose butt is a huge bulbous cactus.
Yeah, it's a prickly pear cactus.
Yeah.
All right. Before we talk about the desert thing, can we talk about this name? I was laughing out loud when this happened because is this too far? Did we go too far?
This isn't even the furthest they went in this set.
Really? What's the other one? We'll talk about that if we'll get into that. But like, okay, minstrosity, like the candy, that's like fairy tale-y weird, and like obviously there's candy jokes and things like that. But
Mhm.
this one isn't even easy to say. It's just
I know, I
weirdly,
had to like make sure I took a second before like,
yeah.
don't fuck this up.
Okay,
Cactarantula.
cactarantula, cactarantula, cactarantula.
Yeah,
I think that that is like I'm still like not that I hate it, but I think that it's a little sloppy. It doesn't really it feels like there's a cat involved in some way. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
but like, sure. Um. Anyway, sorry. Deserts. Let's go back to
Deserts
them.
are a land type. We have 10 of them so far, I think.
Hmm.
And they're all just like tapped dual lands that ping your opponent. That was kind of the way deserts worked in Amonkhet, was
Hmm.
they tended to do a little
Correct.
bit of damage, but they weren't the best lands on their own, so
Hmm.
you had to also kind of care about them to want to play them.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
the ones we had in we haven't had these ones before. I really
no,
actually I like these a lot. It's
yeah,
like basically they're a cycle of gain lands, but instead of gaining life, you just deal damage to your opponent.
right, and it makes sense to make those deserts.
Yeah. And the ones we had in Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation, there was one that dealt damage to your opponent, and it was colorless. And then there was a bunch of other utility ones that had stuff, but the main ones that were actually used dealt damage to you when you actually like use the colored
Oh yeah,
mana for it. So they were like pain lands that were all single colored, and then they had an
right.
activated ability, like Ramen Up Ruins is the most famous one.
That's true. I
Um,
was thinking of Ramanap Ruins and Scorched, Sun-Scorched Desert.
yeah, those are the two ones. Um, so I really like these. I think this will be great. They're going to be awesome and limited. Let's get games ended faster, not slower. Gaining life,
Yes,
ugh. No,
yes.
dealing damage.
Finally, we have the inverse of the gain lands.
Hmm. So all the you know kind of artisan popper players or the just like budget players, you get lands that like deal damage to your opponent, which is usually what your decks want to do, not gain life.
Yeah.
So
Usually damaging opponents is slightly more valuable than gaining life if the numbers are the same, right?
yes, yeah, I think I agree with that 100%. So then, Jeff, what's the craziest name in this set? What?
All right. I was thinking that the name that outdoes this one for me is synonymous with like angelic bovine.
Okay.
Is it?
All right. So I actually like this one because it seems funny to me, but
You like it
um,
because it's well,
this
all right.
makes this fits better like the way you say it. Cac
I was gonna
tarantula
say you
doesn't
like it
flow.
because you can say it, but I was like, you did nail Cactarantula 3 times in a row. That's why I hesitated.
Well, yeah, but cactarantula isn't. I mean, I can say it now, but it doesn't sound like because cactus and I guess it's tarantula, but there's no s or I don't know or cacti. I don't know. I don't love
Cacta. You don't say
it's
cacta?
it's. I get it.
That cacta over there.
It's not my favorite, but
I
it's
would have
there.
preferred cactus rantula.
I mean, maybe I don't know. Or I mean, I am happy that there is a
A
cactus
little harder to
tarantula.
say.
Like I'm not mad that there's a cactus tarantula. I think that the name is not my
Right?
favorite,
You've
but it's
convinced
like
me. It should be cactus rantula.
cactus rantula. Cactus Chilla.
No, no, now you're talking crazy.
That sounds like a vampire.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, the card you're talking about is called Bovine Intervention,
No,
which
no, no,
is
no, 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 no.
you're not talking about Oh, you're talking about oh. Okay, sorry. So no, that's actually the best name ever. What are you talking about? So the card I thought he was talking about is called Bovine Intervention because it's 1 and a white for an instant, and it destroys target artifact or creature, and then its controller creates a 2/2 white ox creature token.
That
Um,
one I'm fine.
that's the one I thought you were talking about. Is Bovine Intervention, but
Oh,
that one, everyone on Twitter right now is talking about all the different ways you could say that, like calling it utter end, or like
oh my God. Yeah,
yeah,
that's great.
swords to ox shares or something, things like
Sure.
that. And people are coming
Yeah.
up with all different types of names. That's what I
Nice.
thought you were talking about. No, no, no. The one you're really talking about is holy cow.
That's right. I have a card called Holy Cow.
Actually, I think what's funny is that like holy cow seems like that does seem like over the the spectrum of like okay, this is a bit too much. Except for the fact that the art is so beautiful. The
Oh,
flavor
the art is
text,
great.
the art is amazing. The flavor text is on point. Jeff, I'm going to read this whole card for us because
Yeah,
we
we
weren't
we
going to
have
do
to.
this. We
We
have
have
to.
to.
All right, so this is Holy Cow. It is 2 and a white for a 2/2 creature ox angel. It has flash and flying. And it says when Holy Cow enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and you scry 1. All very good. This like if this drew a card, like holy cow, that would be crazy. But the
Yeah.
all the things it does already, like a common, it's common by the way, a common 3/2 with flying and flash that gains life and lets you scry, which is half a card. This just feels awesome. Um,
Yeah, I mean this can be a good limited card
it'll be a really
for
good
sure.
limited card for sure. And you'll see budget
And
like Azorius Flash decks play this. Like this could be something. I don't think it's going to be amazing, but I wouldn't be if I saw a deck that's like looked kind of budget, but it beat me down with holy cows in standard. I'd be like, respect, you know.
yeah. So there are a lot of wins here. The fact that it's an Ox Angel, love it.
Win.
But the biggest win on this entire card is that it has flash.
Yeah,
So it
because
surprises your opponent. Like that's
it's
great.
it's perfect. Because then you can say, holy cow, you
Yeah.
know, this is actually a perfect opportunity because while oh sorry well no, let me say this first. Sorry, I'm thinking this is where my brain is doing a million things.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so they have released like the mastery pass for Outlaws of the Thunder Junction, all the different cards and things that you get, and the style, blah blah blah, all that stuff. The thing I wanted to mention is that we get new emotes, which we haven't gotten new emotes that are words in a long time since like we started this podcast. Okay,
Yeah.
like literally the last time we had actual like words was Zendikar Rising.
Yes, right. And they were so weird. They
They were
were
so
like,
weird.
the swarm will rise again.
Yeah.
It's like, when
Or
am I
like
ever gonna say that?
a couple times they like sometimes they'll make sense like oh uh honestly I can't even remember what they are right now, which is how useless they are.
Yeah, I
But
remember them being very strange.
these ones, can I just give you Jeff, I'm assuming that you haven't read any of these.
I have not, but I assume that one of well, I have a guess
Okay,
based on
okay.
how we got here
Well,
what one of them is.
yeah. So one of them is obviously Holy Cow, which is I I want to use that all the time. You know, just holy cowing your
I might
opponent.
actually buy this mastery
Yeah,
pass.
this is great. But of course, we have a bunch of like Western themed things. So this town ain't big enough for the both of us.
Classic.
Much obliged.
Mhm.
Stick 'em up. I do apologize. I actually kind of like that one. We don't get that one very often. I've struck gold, which I think I've struck gold when you top deck the card that you needed. That's a way to tell your opponent that information we weren't able to tell before. The
Sure.
buzzards are circling. That one's not very good. That's like menacing, and I try to avoid any menacing, taunting to your opponent.
I
Um,
just I just spam good game all game long.
oh, yeah, totally. Well,
Yep.
this one's perfect for you because it says "Giddy up."
Giddy up.
Giddy up.
Good game. The
That's really
vultures are buzzing.
yeah, exactly. Like over and over again. Time to saddle up, which I think would be kind of funny if your opponent had a saddle creature and they're about to saddle it or something. That'd be fun. And then finally we have whoa there. I like that one too.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, but
Those
anyway,
are much better than the last time they attempted this.
so they pick them nicely, but I think Holy Cow is the only reason I'd want the Master Pass, just so I can have it. So when my
Yeah.
opponent plays a
e-
Holy Cow, I can
Every
say
time.
Holy Cow.
Yeah.
Um, as well as like when they drop the bomb that you weren't expecting. You're like, holy! When they like when you fireball somebody in the face for 2,000, you
Yeah.
can say, holy cow!
Yeah. You could also give them a whoa
Oh,
there.
whoa there. That's true. That's true. But I'm really happy that we have these back.
Yeah.
And I like, when we had started seeing the stickers and all that, I wanted to keep up and have all of them. But then, there are some that not really worth getting, and then like they
Yeah.
cost real money and blah blah
I
blah.
feel like we were early adopt like proponents of it, being like, this is gonna be a
The best
thing
thing.
for sure. And
Mhm.
kind of died out. But
It did because they were kind of bad, slash, people put you on mute very often because
yeah.
most of the time they get abused. But
Yeah.
if we have ones where you can communicate things, honestly, this one needs to, like the one that we're missing is like, oh, how to use the outhouse or something. Like that's something I really need. Is like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the reason I was roping you is because I had a poop emergency and I had to
Right.
leave, and I will be back.
I had to like, switch from my computer to my phone.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
was a whole
Yeah, it
thing.
was a whole thing, but I'm back. That's what I want to be able to communicate with my opponent, which I can't do currently. Um, because woof. It's just those times when you wake up and you're just drinking coffee and you're like, "Oh, whoa there."
Instead, you just have to give them I do
Yeah, I
apologize.
do apologize. That's good. I'm stoked for these. Anyway, I just wanted to see if I could fit those in the episode at all, but I'm happy we
Yeah,
did.
no,
Um, sorry, the last thing on Holy Cow before we move on to the next thing, which we should move on to because we have more important things to talk about. Um,
not
but
sure.
the flavor text on Holy Cow, it says, after it passed by, the rancher swore she saw hope shining in the pig's eyes. That one day the pigs could fly. That's so great.
That's
That
amazing.
yeah. I think that's like such a story in just a little like one sentence.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like those perfect little like 6 word
the 6 word
stories.
short stories.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Reminded
JJ.
me of that as well. I
Mhm.
mean, they used a few too many words, but
Yeah, they use more than 6, but still trying to convey a story that isn't just like a quote, or it's like they really had a bright idea, or like this is weird or whatever. It's not like those kinds of like,
yeah,
oh, that's a funny joke or whatever. Um,
nah, it's a good one.
it's a
I
good one.
actually didn't even notice it had flavor text till you pointed that out, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, actually, the author of the flavor text has a nice thread on Twitter about it, so go check that out. I do not remember his name though, unfortunately. I do apologize.
Oh man, we're gonna be spamming you guys with these for the
Forever.
next few weeks.
Oh gosh. Jeff, can you give us the next mechanic of the last two?
All right. Well, you alluded to it. You
Mhm.
talked about saddle up,
I sure
and
did.
so saddle is a new mechanic in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, and you can think of it basically like crew kind of, but for creatures that are already creatures.
Mhm.
So instead of turning a vehicle into a creature by getting in it, you're like hopping on a mount.
Mhm.
So creatures that have the mount creature type have saddle,
Mhm.
and they can be mounted by another creature that you have, and that kind of makes them a little more powerful. Um, yeah, that's basically what it is. So
Mhm.
we can do like I don't know, the Fortune, I guess, Fortune Loyal Steed. It's
Mhm.
2 and a white for a legendary beast mount, which is a 2/4. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. It has saddle 1, so you need to tap one or more power worth of creatures to saddle it. And whenever Fortune attacks while saddled, at end of combat, exile it and up to one creature that's saddled at this turn, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. When I first read this, I missed the up to one, and I was like, isn't this just busted? Because you can intentionally overcrew with like
And
everything and
mhm,
just, blink your whole board. But no, they thought of that and they put up to one.
bummer, man.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I think this is sweet. I do like saddle. It basically, yeah, it's like having a creature that is most of them feel kind of vanilla, and then if you saddle them, then they have a bunch of abilities. Um,
I like
so
this a lot better than crew because crew is like
mhm,
all or nothing.
yeah,
Your card doesn't, and they've been trying to fix that with vehicles like, you know,
crewing them
Reckoner.
different ways.
Reckoner
Yeah,
Bangbuster is a great one if you don't have to crew it for it to be an asset or whatever. It can
yeah,
do other
or
things.
or like Kylox's cell phone battery or whatever that card was called, Strider.
Yeah, sure.
Kylo.
It's just like,
It's
I don't
you
know.
can crew it without creatures on the battlefield. Like you can crew
Yeah.
it with cards in your graveyard or stuff like that.
Oh, sure,
Um,
sure. Yeah. I just wanted to pick a card that I knew what it did. But
Fuck, fine.
but yeah. But this is a lot better because it's like a less all or nothing version of crew. Like this is a creature and I can make it better, and then it's more of a decision, is it worth it to tap my creature to make this creature a little better? Or
Mhm,
is it better to have two different creatures? Right? It's a more interesting decision than, okay, well, the vehicle is almost always like better than whatever creature crews it, so you just always crew the vehicle with your worst creature.
mhm,
Like the considerations there are just about exposing it to removal and stuff,
mhm,
which is way less interesting than this, which is like is like two creatures that are slightly worse, better than one bigger, better creature, and like
mhm.
it's going to vary more in different situations. So instead of always saddling, which is kind of how crew works, it's going to be, I think, more interesting to play with. At least in limited, I'm sure whatever cards find their way into constructed are going to be so like really pushed, and so it's almost always better to saddle kind of thing because that's
Yeah.
just how constructed tends to work.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, you wouldn't play a saddle creature unless you wanted to saddle them, essentially,
Exactly. And
or
like,
almost assuredly.
unless it was good enough that you always wanted to saddle it. But
Mhm.
for limited, I think it's so much more interesting than vehicles.
Oh, for sure. It also like these are still creatures, so even if you don't have anything to saddle it up with, you still can
Right,
have it
because
as a
that's
creature.
the worst feeling in limited is just having those vehicles sitting there and your opponent kills your only creature and then you're just top
Yeah.
decking and I just need to hit a creature. Just need to
And
hit a
they've
creature. I'm back in the
Yeah, exactly.
game.
And they've tried to do that before in Call Time, where they had Asika's Chariot come in and make creatures to crew it. It also
Yeah,
made more creatures to crew it, so that was an issue. But um,
card was nutty.
yeah, it was pretty nutty, and that was one of their ways to try to fix it. I think that was a little bit too much. Um, Not that that card was like super broken, but it was like the best vehicle like
Yeah,
of everything. So anyway, I think saddle seems pretty interesting. You can only saddle as a sorcery, which is important. So you can't just
right.
randomly give it abilities in the middle of combat, which I think is good. And you can't do it on your opponent's turn, which is also fine because all the saddle abilities are when it attacks. So that just is baked into the mechanic. Um,
Yeah, I think the sorcery is just more about like I don't know, weird shenanigans with like tapping and untapping
totally, and all
and
that
sorcery, right?
jazz.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
because like you said, everything that's like it's a saddle attack trigger, so
Hmm.
it's like why would I saddle as a blocker?
Exactly.
But it's just more about weird stuff that you just don't feel like you should need to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that cleans it up quite nicely, as well as like the other mechanic we've had recently that was similar to this was like enlist, but it doesn't have that stupid part of enlist where you can't tap summoning sick creatures to do it, which was just.
It's like the whole point of this mechanic is to do that.
And so now you're making it so if
Literally,
I
even
lose
near
the
the
whole
end of the
turn.
format, I would make that mistake where I'm like, oh yeah, I'll play this and list, and then I'm like,
Hmm.
no, no, no,
Hmm.
this mechanic is poorly designed, and I cannot do
Yes,
that. And I would,
intuitively that's what it makes sense,
right,
and
it's like,
in fact, no, summoning sick creatures can't help you at all. So anyway, I thought enlist was
yeah,
Anyway,
This is a
uh,
good fix on like inspired by crew and a good fix on enlist, I think is a
totally.
reasonable way to look at it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. There's another mechanic returning, but we've seen this mechanic like a million times. So it's kicker. Or sorry,
Yeah.
no, it's like strive. Or no. It's like escalate. Or it's
Multi-kicker.
multi kicker.
Yeah.
No, it's like a command. Basically, we are talking about spree. Um, it's
Uber
obvious.
kicker.
Yeah, it's obviously not all of those things, but it's very much multi kicker. Um, so let's talk about the one that everyone's been talking about today, and it's also the simplest to just like break down.
It's
But
the final showdown.
da-da-do-do, da-da-do-do-do. So spree is a it's there's a rare cycle of it, but also I think there's some uncommon ones that do it as well. But this one is Final Showdown, which is a single white for an
This one's a
instant.
mythic.
It's a mythic, yes. It has spree, which means you can choose one or more additional costs. So this card is always a one drop, but there's a little plus at the top by the mana symbol, and then down below it has three different abilities that all have pluses by them. So for a generic mana, a single generic mana, it says all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn. So you could pay one and a white, instant speed, all creatures lose abilities. That's kind of cool. You could also add, or do this instead, another generic white, or sorry, generic mana.
It's the old generic white.
Generic white, just like me. um,
Yeah.
you could choose a creature you control. It gains indestructible until end turn. And then the final one is three white, white, destroy all creatures. So on its base, it's a 6 mana, triple white, instant speed, destroy all creatures. But you can also use it to keep one of your creatures alive. So it's a 7 mana, keep one of your creatures alive, destroy all creatures at instant speed. Or a 2 mana, one of your creatures is indestructible. Or a 2 mana, everything loses abilities. Or whatever combination of all that stuff. So,
Or you could make your opponents lose indestructible, give one of
mhm,
your creatures indestructible, and then destroy all creatures.
for 8 mana, yeah. You can also not even just indestructible. It could be like all the dice triggers stop happening.
Right.
So your morbid opportunist may no longer do things if
Now,
you wipe the
Zach, if
board.
I had 15 mana, could I give my whole board indestructible and then destroy all creatures?
No,
Mm,
because you
bummer.
can only choose each one of them one time. It will also never change the cost of the card. The cost of the card is always one, even if you're paying additional costs on it. That's how additional costs
That
work.
disdainful stroke.
Yeah, so Disdainful Stroke will not be able to stop this. But this is a 6 mana instant speed board wipe. So, when you're attacking into 6 mana, you don't have to just worry about Wandering Emperor. You also might have to worry about just wiping your whole board. um, which is the thing people are kind of talking about. I don't know if it's going to be used that way in. Well, it probably will be used that way in standard, but I think the fact that your board wipe can also be used for 2 mana or whatever combination of other things that might be really helpful um, can can be super great. Maybe it helps you beat your opponent plays Atraxa. They're gonna draw the cards, but when they attack you, they won't gain the life. Or you can make it lose flying. I guess all your creatures will lose flying, but if you're in the reason I'm saying this is I'm in usually in the situation where if my opponent gains 7 life, it's worse for me than them drawing a bunch of cards. So if I could make sure that they don't have that anymore, that'd be great. So pump up all my creatures, do all this stuff, and then attack. I will lose double strike, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think this
I think
card's pretty
it's
strong. I don't think it's insane, which I think some people do.
yeah. I think some people are talking about it as in CEDH is a big talk.
Oh, sure.
So in that,
Couldn't possibly comment on that.
yeah, it's
I hate
they
that first ability, but because I'm never really gonna play this card, but sure I'm gonna see it, and I all I know is whatever deck I'm playing hates that first ability.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the first ability to me looks fairly like the situation I just explained is really uncommon and not really that helpful.
Yeah,
But the first thing I thought of was all of Jeff's shit doesn't work
yeah.
anymore.
I literally want to do like Delny aristocrats,
Hmm.
like double my
Oh,
blood artist triggers.
like none of your creatures, you can't sacrifice creatures anymore with
Yeah,
creatures. None of your creatures get counters when you do any of that stuff. You don't draw cards. They don't deal damage when they die. All that stuff. Um, for a turn, the turn when you want to go off, it's like no, actually, you can't. Sorry.
yeah. I guess
Um,
it's interesting because like depending on how I build it, maybe I can kill them on the stack kind of thing.
that's true.
So they kind of have to do this. It's a very timing specific issue. It's like I
Hmm.
play my Blood Artist or my sack outlet. It has to be on the stack, and then they're like, okay, take away all of your abilities.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like a lot of the decks I play are like the way I tend to insulate myself against board wipes is death triggers or stuff like that.
hmm,
And this doesn't care about them. But you know what? There's already Sunfall, so whatever.
it's true. There's already Sunfall and Farewell, so
Yeah, Farewell's gonna go bye-bye very soon. Sunfall
very
is gonna be
soon, I guess
around forever.
it will be around forever. Oh man, um, I'm just having such a great time talking about all these things. Those are all the mechanics for the set. Um,
Yes.
yeah, they seem sweet. I'm very excited for plot, obviously, as I mentioned before.
Plot.
Um,
Okay, yeah. Quick power ranking. Plots
okay,
at the top.
lots at the top.
Um, then you know what? I'm gonna give number two to Saddle.
Interesting.
Uh, I
I
like
was
Saddle.
I was gonna say, well, if it was a power ranking, I'd say Spree, but
Oh, in terms of power level, no. By power ranking, I mean like how much I like them.
oh, okay, cool. All right, so
Yeah.
okay, we're on the same page then. Yeah, definitely. My power ranking, as far as like what I think is
Yeah.
cool, is
Exactly. The cool
plot.
ranking.
Plot is the coolest. Saddle next. Spree is fine, and then the mercenary things at the bottom. It's just like you'll think about it.
But
It's
where does committing a crime slot in? I think I have Spree a little above committing a crime, but I could see those kind of going either way. They're both
oh,
fun.
that's true. I don't think I've seen enough things that like really matter about committing crimes. I think committing crimes can be really important in limited, um, because obviously that's all you want to do.
Right.
You just
It's like,
like most of your cards want to either commit crimes or like have crimes committed against them, I guess. So like that's what most of the games are about.
right. Like, what limited game are you playing where you're never committing any crimes?
Yeah. That just sounds that sounds so bad, but that's how it goes.
Yeah.
As far as like the mechanic, the oh my gosh, this 9% is really
I
starting
know,
to hit
right?
me.
Oh,
Holy
man.
shit. I'm like grabbing my backup beer because I have no more beer, but it's probably a
Oh,
bad idea.
I'm just
Uh
gonna do it.
oh.
I'm just
Uh
gonna. Oh,
oh.
no.
Uh oh.
Don't
Oh,
do it,
ouch,
Zach.
ouch,
Don't do
ouch,
it,
ouch, ouch,
Zach.
ouch, ouch. Um,
All right. Are there any other cards you wanted to talk about that weren't necessary? Well, they can have the mechanic if you want. Just it's free reign now.
mm.
That was a terrible pour. That was the worst pour I've ever seen in my life.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Um, anyway, I did want to. I want to talk about booster packs in a minute.
Oh yeah.
Because that's an important thing that's going to be happening. But I think before we get to booster packs, this kind of ties into that. We should
Okay.
talk about the Jace in the room.
Ooh.
So today we we got the spoiler for a new planeswalker card. Now, Jeff, do, do you remember when we talked about Oko the Ringleader, which was a planeswalker card for this set?
Yeah,
And do you remember when in Wilds of Eldraine they told us that we were only going to have one planeswalker card per set now?
I do.
Huh, interesting.
So that means there's no more planeswalkers in this set. We already got it.
Yeah,
It's Oko the
just Oko.
Ringleader.
But
Yeah.
wait, Jace reawakened is a planeswalker card that was previewed today. That's crazy. The other crazy thing about this is that Jace is not only Jace, but he's also half Ashiok, I guess.
It does appear that way.
And it is confusing. And story enjoyers of the Magic story are confused as well. Um, but Jeff, would you like to read this Jace Planeswalker card for us?
I sure would.
Okay.
Jace reawakened. Blue, blue for a legendary planeswalker. Jace with 3 loyalty. That's right, folks. A 2 mana planeswalker. Now, it has a passive ability. These are
Mhm.
always very powerful. Okay, passive ability. You can't cast this spell during your first, second, or third turns of the game. Ah, there we go.
Sarah Avatar.
Sarah Avatar treatment.
Yeah.
+1. Draw a card, then discard a card. Another +1. You may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. That's a nasty +1. -6 until end of turn. Whenever you cast a spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy.
So I think this is a really exciting new take on 2 mana planeswalkers. So
Yeah.
if you want a brief history of 2 mana planeswalkers, we had Tybalt,
Yes.
the first Tybalt card. It was the worst and most
Legendary. Legendary
like
planeswalker.
most laughable planeswalker in the multiverse. Recently murdered last year. Um, and Tybalt was like just the laughing stock of the world. It was just
Yeah.
their failed attempt at making a 2 mana planeswalker. Um, Actually, fun to note the same guy who designed this planeswalker designed Tybalt as well. So this
Really?
was his new take on. All right, I was helping with Tybalt, so I wanted to redeem the 2 mana planeswalker thing.
Yeah.
Um, so the other 2 mana planeswalker we have is Ren and Six, and that was also too powerful and
Yeah.
just crazy. That was a Modern Horizons card, but right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Super busted. Sees
Super
play in,
busted
in modern
and
all over the
Legacy
place. Yeah.
and all that stuff. So this one seems pretty interesting because it is a 2 mana planeswalker, but you can't play it for the first 3 turns of the game.
Yeah.
For your first 3 turns of the game
Oh, we thinking some like ley line of
of
anticipation
anticipation. Yes, yeah,
shenanigans
yeah.
or
So this was also even just plastered all over the debut video. They had even mentioned this, being like,
oh yeah.
yes, yes, you can have if you have
We
Leyline of
know that
Anticipation.
within point 0.8 seconds Reddit is
Mhm.
gonna ask us this
Yeah.
question. So.
So yes, if you have a Leyline of Anticipation on the battlefield at the beginning of the game, you can cast this on your opponent's first, second, or third turns because it only says you can't play it during your first, second, and third turns. So, but I don't that's not exactly what I'm actually talking about with this card. I still think just like being able to slip in a planeswalker in somewhere and get some value out of it, like all pluses to be able to like um, draw cards and discard them or plot cards from your hand. And then if you ever get up to being able to copy every spell you play that turn, like that's really powerful. But it will be really interesting to see how this plays out, whether it's actually like does anything in the meta or I'm not really sure. But I like putting that Sarah Avatar text on it, which
Yeah.
was an angel that was a really strong. It was a really strong angel that you couldn't play for the first 3 turns of the game. So it's the same thing. Um,
Right.
I'd like I'd like them exploring how can we make a 2 mana planeswalker that is actually fair and not completely terrible or busted.
Yeah, I have no idea how to evaluate this because
Mm-hmm.
obviously this planeswalker is like amazing for 2 mana, or sorry, like amazing on turn 2 or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, kind of whatever on turn 4. So obviously you kind of want to have to play like this and a 2 drop on turn
Mm-hmm.
4. and so your deck's got to be pretty lean, which
Well,
it
those
kind
are
of incentivizes anyways.
well because you only want to
Uh,
plot cards with mana value
with
3 or
the
less,
second plus one
and with the
and the
ultimate,
ultimate,
you
yeah.
want to play as many spells as possible. So you could plot a bunch of cards and then copy all of them for free.
Yeah. Like maybe you could play this currently in the Demir decks.
Hmm.
They might have a low enough curve that this is good enough.
I don't know if this was your idea and like turn 3 you play the preacher or the schism, the 2/4, and
Yeah.
then you play this on 4 with like a bat or something to find whatever's in their hand, and
It's not bad. It's
then
pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you put something else from your hand over and you plot it, and basically you're like, I have a big wall. I looked at your hand. I made sure you can't deal with it for the next few turns. It could do something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that's going to be powerful enough, and if the deck is just better without it. But I think it's cool. So,
It's definitely a cool card. Yeah.
mhm.
It's a really interesting design.
So I want to now bring up some of the play booster shenanigans, and then we can get back to some cool cards.
Cool.
So the reason I want to transition to that because it directly relates to Jace the Reawakened and the fact that there are two planeswalkers in the set where they said there was only going to be one
I see.
because they didn't directly break their rules. Um, all right, so play boosters, as we know, 14 cards now, not 15, as we're used to. There will be multiple different things in the packs. The last set we just had, Murders of Karlov Manor, had the regular set, and then there was the 40 list cards as well as the 10 special guest cards. So the special guest cards were like Crashing Footfalls,
Yeah.
Gamble, those types of things, Ghostly Prison. And then the list cards were just a bunch of random shit from different sets that didn't really do anything in the draft format. They were kind of just there. I guess like what was what's the single blue for the crab and you
Oh
investigate?
yeah. Right, right, right.
That was like the best blue card for a while. Um, but anyway, besides that, that's the list. So Outlaws of Thunder Junction has the regular set, which is the cowboy hat symbol. And those are all legal in standard. Obviously, those are just like the set. Then we also have the breaking news bonus sheet. So the breaking news bonus sheet is the cards that all look like they're a newspaper, and the set symbol is like a jail cell with bars. Okay, so that's an actual bonus sheet. So that's the same as like Wilds of Eldraine or any of the other sets where we've had bonus sheets, Strixhaven, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So there's one slot in the 14 card booster that specifically will be always one of the breaking news cards. Those are all reprints and they are not legal in standard. All right, so when you see Thoughtseize or Mana Drain or Oko Thief of Crowns, those are not legal in
Oh
standard.
man, I got excited that we could get to play Oko Thief of Crowns in standard again.
Yes. So obviously, no, you can't do any of those things. But they are present in the draft format, and they will be very present because they will show up in every pack.
Right.
Obviously, those are the only ones we know right now. Clear Shot is also one of them, so obviously that's the thing. The other kind of joke with it is that they're breaking news because it's a newspaper telling you what happened. Some crime was committed, so all the cards commit crimes. So
Mm,
it's like Thoughtseize commits a
nice.
crime, Mana Drain. I guess I don't know. Targeting your opponent's spells. I guess that's a crime, but I'm not 100% whether on like countering someone's spell is still a thing that they own because it's some of their it's like
Right.
a thing on the stack.
Uh, I
Anyway,
think I
it
think it
feels
is.
it feels like a crime.
Yeah.
Countering my spells feels like a crime, so it better be a crime.
Yeah. That's the
Um,
crimiest one.
exactly, it's the worst one. So those two are fairly normal. Regular set, bonus sheet. Okay, we're used to those things. But we
Yes.
also have this one that just feels weirder. So this would normally be like the list and the special guest, which was like 40
Sure.
cards and 10 cards. So 50 cards together with like a drop rate of like one in every 5 packs has one instead of a common. Now we're actually getting the big score cards. So there are 40 big score cards, and those were originally an aftermath like set for Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Because last year with March of the Machine and Aftermath did so poorly in sales because of the way that they sold it, which was 5 card packs that were random for like $7. They have decided that they were going to strike that product line altogether and just push those cards into the main set. And so Big Score is what those cards were. And those cards are now dropped. Basically, 1 in every 5 packs will have either that card or a special guest.
Okay. And
Okay.
big score legal and standard?
Big Score are all legal and standard. Special guests are not legal and standard. So basically, Big Score cards are all new cards that have never been printed before. Special guests are all reprints. So
I
they're
see
not legal and
Torpor
standard.
Orb. It seems to be listed as a big score.
There you go. I That is a card that is coming to standard, I guess. There you go.
Confused.
I'm that's one of the big score cards. Like the big score is the vault. It's the like the mythic looking vault with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I
that's
just say you said they're all new cards, and then I'm like, this one's not new.
all right. Well, I apologize. I thought they were all new. I thought
How
Torpor
dare
Orb was
you?
one of the special guests. I got
So they
confused.
clearly thought that like their balancing decisions had been made based on this additional aftermath set coming out. And so they can't just not print them. They have to be pushed into this set.
They had decided. I think that they just didn't want to scrap the ideas because they wanted them in standard.
Right. But like why? Like why did they want them in standard? There some reason beyond just like
Oh,
the
just
people who designed them
cutting it full.
liked them. Like yeah, if you cut a product, just cut the product. You know what I mean?
I get that, but to be fair, I kind of well,
Just reuse the design somewhere else after you've had time to think about it.
the idea I think was that they like I guess at the end of the set you like open a vault and there's a bunch of stuff inside. This is all the stuff. Or at the end of the story, they open a vault.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know if they'd be able to put these in other places. The problem, there's
Well,
one
they can
problem.
use the
There's
underlying idea, right? It
yeah,
doesn't have to be the exact same card. I'm just
sure.
saying.
Yeah. They're the same design archetype. I think the problem with these could be that if one of them ends up being really important in a standard deck, the drop rate is so random that everyone trying to get 4 copies of Sword of Wealth and Power or
In
whatever
paper.
in
Yeah.
paper will be really really difficult, and it could bring us to a Nexus of Fate type of thing. um
And we already have the like $100 Shieldreds, I guess, that are
exactly, an issue and all that stuff. So that is the thing to think about. It's not an arena issue, it's a Magic issue. um and though in general for draft I like having just new cards that are interesting in the slot more than just the random bullshit. Oh, this is from a random set. It's like, oh, this is a Hour of Devastation card in like Mercy Karlov Manor, or like some weird uncommon from a set that doesn't matter in this draft format at all. It's just like, okay,
right.
cool, like great. I don't care about that. Oh, my vampires deal more damage or something. It's like
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like we don't just fucking randomly have Morbid Opportunist in this set,
Exactly.
like
Okay. Well, of course, I know, but that's the only one that's weird. You know, that Jeff's talking about there's only 10 special guests, but one of them happens to be Morbid Opportunist. But Morbid Opportunist would be just a random card they would just put in, and it'd be like whatever. This one's
yeah,
mythic with new art, so you know,
there you go.
there you go.
I guess here it is. Like your creatures might die more often because
Crimes are being committed.
crimes are being committed. Yeah,
Yeah, so you get incentivized. The spider incentivizes your opponents not to commit crimes against it.
right.
Morbid opportunist is like, yeah, commit crimes against us. We're fine. We don't
For
care.
sure. Yeah.
Anyway,
Kill my cactus tarantula. See if I care.
yeah, you draw two cards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a combo.
yeah,
That's what we call a combo in my book.
yeah, totally. Um, anyway, I just wanted to highlight because these packs are so complicated, where normally the list and special guest cards aren't standard legal, as well as the bonus sheet is also not standard legal. But that's not the case here. We have like standard legal and not standard legal, and like it's it's harder than ever to be a new Magic player, I think.
Yeah, no kidding.
So um,
I don't even understand this pack structure.
I know it took me like a long time to figure it out, as well as like having to look at like Emma Partlow's Twitter over and over again, who is a great content creator from the UK, but she is always posting things about clarifying stuff, and it's very helpful, but also very hard. I will say that the
Is the
special,
hero we need, but not the hero we deserve.
yeah, yeah, she is. The I will say that the breaking news cards, as well as the special guests, are going to timeless on Arena, which does matter.
Yes.
So we already have Oko Thief of Crowns,
I mean,
but
Morbid
we,
Opportunist was already in Timeless.
Jeff, I'm trying to get away from the morbid opportunist thing. Come on. All right, I know we had Oko Thief of Crowns and Thoughtseize
Thoughtseize,
and
yeah.
Grindstone and Clear Shot in Arena, but we didn't have Mana Drain or Dust Bowl or Path to Exile. Mana Drain
Yeah.
being probably the most important.
Mana Drain. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like just a clearer like upsell from Counterspell. Um, because whatever. Mana Drain wasn't as powerful as it is now because there used to be Mana Burn.
Yeah.
Since they got rid of Mana
It
Burn,
used to have a downside and now
yeah,
it does not.
it used to have a downside that you could take advantage of,
Right.
where now it just has all upside. Um,
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's not saying it has a downside is not the right way to say it, but relative to how it is now, it had
yeah,
downside.
yeah,
Like, so the idea was you can counter this spell and you're going to get some mana out of it. But if you
mhm,
can't use all that mana, you're going to take damage.
yeah,
Now that doesn't even happen. So
exactly.
it's literally just all upside.
Because it turns all the mana into like colorless mana, and obviously your spells also have colors in them, so that was part of it. Um,
Yeah.
I think we should bring Mana Burn back, honestly. Um,
But
but
was Scape Shift on Arena before?
actually, you're right. I think Scapeshift was not on Arena, and that is a way to bring more decks to Pioneer. Um,
Oh.
because wait, Pioneer? Wait, do they play Scapeshift Pioneer? Actually,
I
wait, it
don't
might
think
be.
it's legal. But oh wait, it was reprinted, right? Yeah, it is. I guess it would be legal. But I was thinking just for like the Titan decks in Timeless,
That's
if they
true.
don't currently have Scape Shift, could help.
That's true. We also get Prismatic Vista, which is another just fetch land that gets basic lands,
Yep.
as well as Stoneforge Mystic, which is, of
Oof.
course, my favorite to see because that's a really important piece in Death and Taxes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that maybe, like, if things went my way, one of the reprinted artifacts you mentioned Torpor Orb for the big score. If Aether Vial happened to be reprinted,
Ho, 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 ho.
I mean Aether Vial in standard probably too much, but
It's definitely too much for standard, man.
I
But
don't know.
if they could sneak it in there.
There's a braid is in standard. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Good idea.
Good idea. Anyway, oh
Play,
that
shatter, or die.
they could also just put Aether Vial into like the newspaper article thing, right? So it's not in standard, but
Yes.
we still get it on arena.
I think that's more likely.
Mhm.
But probably not gonna happen. Because it doesn't commit a crime.
Fuck, you're right. Damn it. It doesn't commit a crime. It's a crime that it's not an arena, so they have to.
There you go. There's the crime.
Yeah. Anyway, when that happens, I'll be very excited. But for the meantime, it seems like I'll be playing Hammer Time. I was talking to somebody on Twitter, and it looks like Hammer Time is going to go over the edge in Historic. So maybe I'll play Historic if I can play Hammer Time. That sounds
There
like,
you go.
yeah, it sounds like something I'd like to do. All right,
Right,
Jeff,
because you can play the Stoneforge Mystic in Historic.
you can. Okay, it's just the format that we forget about most often.
Yeah, it's like, what? I thought it was just timeless.
Yeah. Um. All right, Jeff. I think we've been having a great time. We drank
Yeah.
a big beer.
Too much percentages.
Too many percentages.
Yeah.
Let's say we both get one card left, and then we go to last call. How about
Okay, after this one card that I'll talk about, I agree to that.
that? Okay, so then you get two cards. I get one card. Fine.
Yes, I agree to that.
Okay,
So,
that's cool.
have you heard of the card Armored Armadillo?
Yes. Yeah.
1 mana for an armadillo creature, 0/4 with ward 1. Could play 3 and a white, gets +X/+0, where X is its toughness till end of turn.
Hmm.
Do you know why I'm bringing this card up?
I feel like it. It.
If you know why, my mind will be blown. But it's possible that I've mentioned it at some point.
Okay. All
And
right.
by
So
possible, I mean like pretty unlikely, but I could see it having happened.
okay. No, I think that if you had mentioned it at some point, I might have remembered. It's not on the card. I'm assuming. So,
It's just the name,
oh,
100%
it's
the
armored
name.
armadillo. Okay,
Yeah.
give it to me.
Have you ever played the game Mega Man X?
Okay, no, I have not.
Okay, so Mega Man is a popular series of video games.
Hmm.
X was because it was the 10th one for the Super Nintendo. So it was the first one on the Super Nintendo, but the 10th one in the Mega Man
Hmm.
series. And that's when I started. I played it when I was like 3 years old. One of the
Three.
bosses, maybe four, I don't
Okay,
remember.
I was gonna say that's very early, but anyway,
I
sorry. Go
got a
ahead.
Super Nintendo pretty young
All right,
because
sorry.
my,
Yeah, yeah,
anyways,
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
one of the bosses was named Armored Armadillo.
Oh, okay.
And he looked pretty close to what this is. It was literally just like an armadillo with armor.
Hmm.
And that was always the boss that I would defeat first. That was my like the first because you get to choose in Mega Man. You get to
Oh,
choose
okay.
which level you want to play first. And I always started with Armored Armadillo because I went alphabetically.
That's so. I thought you were gonna say because he seems the easiest or whatever, but
So
alphabetically,
there is a thing where when you beat one boss, you get like a power up that helps you against other bosses and stuff.
sure. And
So
you
I
get
later started choosing him because I tried to beat them in the hardest order possible.
classic Jeff.
And
That's why he picks Charmander at the beginning of the.
yes,
Yeah.
that's why you should pick Charmander.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's a tangent on a tangent. But at first it was just I went with him because it's alphabetical, but then I that always stuck. I always started with Armored Armadillo, and then I
Mhm.
would try it because no matter who you beat first, someone else becomes easier. But
Gotcha.
I was like, whatever, we're starting here, and then we try to choose it in like a specific path that never gives you the easy option kind of thing. Uh, but yeah, Armored Armadillo, Mega Man X boss that I could beat without taking any damage, like pretty much every time.
Hmm.
I have defeated him so many times that I've mastered that fight. Well, maybe now I wouldn't, but when
Yeah.
I was, in my prime, I would defeat him without question. So when I saw that name, it just brought back like all these memories of playing that game.
That's so nice. I have so many not good memories of this specific card right here as of the last, like, I don't know, 8 hours that I've been with this card. Um, Mainly that when they were talking about how they're making new magic sets, the common white creatures, there's like two one drops. And I was like, this is one of them? It's an 0/4 that you
You're
have to
taking a
pay
slot with this?
with this fucking thing? And the other thing is that the flavor text on this card is exactly the opposite of holy cow. It's a quote from Kellen that says, "I always wanted to ride a slow cannonball with legs."
Oh, Kellen, what a knee
What a
slapper.
fucking piece of work.
But hey, Kellen is finding his dad
You're
after
right.
all this time. So,
You're right. There is something to be said about that. Speaking of Kellen, the card I want to talk about is Kellen the Kid.
oh, what a
So,
segue.
yeah, this creature is a green, a white, and a blue. So, a 3 mana total for a 3/3 legendary creature, human fairy rogue. So, he is an outlaw. He's
Mr. Caw.
Mr. Paw.
Mr. Paw, damn it. It's because I
Pirate.
was thinking halfway through Mr. Cat, and I'm like, no,
Oh,
that's not cat.
the cactus.
Yeah.
You get in the cactus
I was
confused with
thinking like
the.
Mr. Paw, like a cat has
Oh,
paws.
gotcha. Okay, that makes sense too. Sorry. That's the only downfall of Mr. Paw is
You
the
know what? It doesn't work as well as I thought.
yeah,
Once you've had a 9% beer, it starts to
and
break down.
it starts to break down. But most things do, to be fair.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
Kellen is a Bant 3/3 with flying and lifelink. And he says, whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So, basically, all the other versions of Kellen are all adventure creatures. So you could adventure your cards, and then when you cast those Kellens while this Kellen is in play, you get to cast other cards from your hand. They cost less, or play lands from your hand as an additional thing.
right. Maybe I'm missing something, but does this just let me chain my hand? Like,
No, because when you
oh,
cast the
okay. I
card from
thought it
your
was,
hand,
yeah, yeah. I thought it was saying when you cast something for free.
no,
Okay,
no,
whenever
no,
you
no.
cast it from, because I was thinking
Somewhere,
on the plot
yeah,
turn.
yeah.
Okay.
So if you cast something from not your hand, then you get
Oh
to do it.
man. I was like reading it
So
like, wait, so I just go like 4 drop, 3 drop, 2 drop, 1 drop land. Like,
no,
what
which
the
would be
fuck?
sick. Um,
I mean, it'd be outrageous.
obviously. But yeah, so if you plot a bunch of things and then play all the plots, then you get a windfall of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah.
do have to set
Gotcha.
up one big turn if you want, or you could just do it once a turn and all that stuff.
Even just doing
Um,
it like a couple of times. Once is good, twice is
once is
great.
good. Yeah, exactly. And the land thing is just gravy, I guess.
Yeah.
If you happen to have drawn extra ones.
And it's a 3/3 flying lifelink for 3, so
Yeah. And it's using all the Kellens that I actually like. I didn't the Boros
yeah.
one was like less exciting to me.
That's fair.
Um, but the the Celestia one and the last one that I really like the Simic one. So this is like, oh, you can actually build a Kellen deck. Um,
You know what my favorite part about this card is?
hmm,
Maybe this is what you're about to say,
go
but
ahead.
his adventure is over.
That's that's one thing I was thinking of. I actually tweeted that today on our account.
Nice.
That like the yeah, he's it's over.
Found his dad.
He found his dad. I think I know more about the story than you do, so that's maybe less exciting than it seems.
Well, he finds out his dad's a jackass. I mean,
Yeah, but yeah, he's no longer adventuring. He spent all year adventuring to different places looking for stuff, and the venture's over.
yeah.
And now he's 3 colors. He found his colors, by the way, too, and he didn't dip into black, which I thought he was going to.
Oh,
I thought that he was going to be like a Demir card because he started like red white, and then he went to white green, and then he went to green blue. So I was thinking, oh, blue black, he's going to be
right.
an outlaw.
Yeah,
Blue black makes
and end
sense.
up in the best color combination.
But in fact, he ended up into a better tricolor combination.
No, this is like the opposite of the best color combination, right?
No, I mean, did you
It's
play New?
this is not Rakdos.
Did you play New Capena though?
Not really.
Yeah, well, obviously, in limited world, Bant was the best color combination.
Yeah, I believe you mean brokers,
Oh,
Zach.
sorry,
Yeah.
fuck brokers. Yeah, I know the goddamn lawyers. Anyway, I just thought that was cool. I'll probably be interested in doing something with this card and seeing where we can go. Um, wow, Jeff, it's been almost the entire episode and we haven't brought up something that we should have brought up like immediately, and I feel terrible. And I
Oh
don't know if
man.
we should actually bring it up in this episode or we should just wait because no one will even notice. But
Yeah. Maybe we should save it.
maybe we save it. Okay, we'll save it. Fine.
All right.
Jeff, give me. I'm keeping all of that in though, by the way. So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
stay tuned for next
So
week
yeah,
where we
yeah, it's
talk
gonna be
about.
exciting
You
when
probably already know what
we
it is.
may or
If
may not remember to bring this thing up.
I won't even remember this episode at all.
Yeah.
Jeff, tell us what card you're
My
excited for.
card that I must talk about is Gisa the Hellraiser. This is three
Mm,
black for a 4/4 legendary human warlock. It has ward 2, pay 2 life. It is a skeleton and zombie lord. Those creatures get +1/+1 and have menace. Whenever you commit a crime, create 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature tokens. This ability only triggers once each turn.
hmm
Zach, Skeleton Kindred is a real thing.
It,
They're really pushing this.
yeah. Not only do we get a 1-drop skeleton with tiny bones, but we have a 2-drop.
Terrible one, but okay.
Okay, we have a 2-drop enchantment that makes a 2/1 menace, right?
Now we're talking.
That helps us get our lord if our creature dies. We have a 3-drop enchantment that gives all of our skeletons haste and +1/+0, which makes our tiny bones a lot better. A haste, when you draw tiny bones later and it's a 2/1 haste death touch that like
I
lets you
hate it a
play
lot
cards.
less. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Gisa helps them, bumps the whole team up. We can use it,
Menace.
and Menace, that's big. And
Yeah.
Menace on Tiny Bones with an extra point of power, great. We can use Case of the Skeleton in the Closet. What's it called? Case of the Stash Skeleton to find Gisa. It's a 5-drop, which is the hardest part, but I think we'll be able to play with it.
This is a healthy ward ability. You got to
Yeah,
pay 2
2
mana and
and
2 life.
mm-hmm.
And that's a crazy commit a crime trigger. Like 2/2/2s, which are
two
going to be
twos.
3/3 menaces.
Yeah, that are also outlaws for whatever other things that might slip into the deck.
Yeah, I'm in on Skeleton Kindred.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah. Well, we were previously thinking that we are going to do skeleton pirates because we're going to call it Scallywags. Um,
oof. I still do like that name.
yeah, Scallywag sounds great. We had also talked about Skellies and Shellies.
Mm,
Um,
which still might include a few
yeah,
Shelleys in
we
the
might have a couple of
Skelly in the
Shellies.
Skelly
Like
deck.
Gisa does not, you know, it doesn't cut out our Shellies. We could have 2
Yeah.
Shellies, 2 Gisa, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know. I built a preliminary version actually that's pretty terrible, and we really need both Tiny Bones and Gisa, I think.
Mm,
Um, and there's some other cards I think could be good in this deck as well. So
yeah.
stay tuned
Don't you
for.
just love like a sketchy injured deck that requires a ton of mythic rare wild cards
Oh, absolutely.
to
It's a
build?
streamer's dream to show
Yeah.
everyone that they shouldn't build this deck. So stay tuned for that. The week after I lose the RCQ, that is when I'll be playing the the
Yeah.
Skelly's deck, the Skellywags. Um,
So if you win the RCQ, you won't play
no, I'm saying that I'm assuming I will not.
it.
The RCQ that we're playing in, by the way, or I'm playing in, and Jeff might be playing in, is there's only
Was
four
hoping to play.
slots. There's only 4 slots for the regional
That's
championship.
that means it's like I mean, okay, so they have some super qualifiers or whatever,
Yeah,
but 4 is it's some of them are
better than
1.
2. Yeah,
It's 1 or 4.
yeah.
And so like I've been looking at them and like, should I even bother going to the ones that are 1? Because
hmm You have
that
to
at
win the
that
whole
point
thing.
you just have to not like not that getting top 4 you don't have to have luck on your side, but it feels
Mhm.
so much more manageable than like winning the whole tournament.
It's true, especially if it's sealed. But
Yeah.
In any case, I just want to go and play some competitive Magic. So
Yeah,
that was the
it's
main
always a
this
fun
main
time.
thing. Exactly. Oh God, with that, Jeff. Geez, this episode has been just a whirlwind
Oh
of.
man. Good thing we managed to cover every spoiled card or
Yeah,
every
we talked
previewed
about
card.
every
Yeah.
single card that got. This is like a set review, honestly.
Yeah, there are definitely
Um,
not dozens of cards that we still haven't talked about.
yeah, which is actually upside. We have more things to talk about for next week, as well as like the Arena Championship. Pretty excited.
Oh yeah.
Um, and a whole cycle that needs to be revealed. Uh, but with that, Jeff, let's go to last call. Let's rate the beer that we had this evening. Wow. If I am getting flashbacks to early episodes of the Arena Regulars, and it is
Yeah.
feeling great. Um,
Although we probably had like three,
three.
three beers, one of which was 9%, the other two were like seven. That's
I
the
know. And that was like a regular episode. And like
yeah.
started at like 3 in the afternoon
Yeah.
is when we used to record the show. Um, and so we'd go home to our wives, or I guess at the time they were our, well, it was your, well, I guess it was both of our wives, yeah. Um,
True.
and yeah, true. And we'd just eat dinner with them. But anyway, um, let's talk about two pad stack.
Okay. Should
This,
we go through the rating system first?
oh shit, yeah, okay. So don't feel bad. Oh, sorry.
Don't feel bad if you like bronze beers.
Oh God, our rating system is based on the tiers in Arena, bronze to mythic, and everyone's in different tiers at different times. There's a bunch of stuff going on right now, so like your tier matters even less than it used to.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad when the bronze beers that we talk about are trash. They're horrible. You have to spit them out. You throw them on the ground. You pour them down the toilet and flush them to the sewers.
Yeah, just to clarify, you absolutely should fear bronze beers.
Yeah, fear bronze beers. Yeah.
Silver beers are just bad beers or boring, so macro brews.
Yeah. Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really drink them again.
Platinum are solid, and you would drink it again.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You will talk about these to your friends and pick them up a lot.
And mythic, these are the best of the best. These are the skeleton kindred of the beer world.
Yes, yes. Oh my lords, Jeff. Two pad stack. So what do we think that we are block? Okay, if we are the goalie,
Yeah.
did this beer two pad stack block the puck perfectly and it was the best thing ever and the crowd cheered and like we won
Yeah.
the game? Or did it two pad stack and they shot at the other side of the goal and we completely missed and it was just like a dud?
I
Let's
feel like the two pad stack came out and the shot hit kind of the top, the very top of the pad and
interesting.
trickled over and went
Oh, and
into
went
the
into the
net.
goal. Oh
Yeah.
no. Oh
So like
no.
you almost got it. You almost got the magnificent save,
Mm,
but it didn't work.
wow. Wow.
So
I
that's
think
my review.
interesting. I think I'm still a believer. I think that we like full on they did
Oh
not
yeah,
expect the old man to pull out this trick and like really smack it and just like
you think so?
shoot it back at them. Um I liked it a lot. I think that like maybe it's just that I haven't had a double IPA in a long time because I'm just like scared away from the like percentage or what it is, but like being a West Coast double IPA, it just did everything I wanted it to do. Like maybe there are ones that are better. There probably are, but I had to stop myself halfway through because I was drinking this way too fast.
Yeah,
Way too fast.
that's definitely true. I think what I wanted from it was more of like it kind of tasted like a less bodied West Coast IPA, which I guess is what a West Coast double IPA
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
is.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it was good if you know my review wasn't totally clear. Like I think it was good,
Mhm.
just not
Yeah, yeah.
you didn't
Not
get
it
there,
wasn't the
you
one
know.
you wanted. It wasn't a double
Um,
Mad Tom, is what you're saying,
yeah,
or
maybe
twice as
I'm
mad.
comparing it to very specific things, but
Yeah,
I like when it's too easy drinking. That tends to be the kind when I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for, I guess, in the strong IPAs or the imperial stouts, that taste like chocolate and stuff.
hmm
Like I like them to have a little bit of that kick. Not that I want them to taste like alcohol. That's not the right way to
because
say
this
it,
one
because
did.
like
Yeah,
alcohol
because
does taste bad,
yeah,
but it's like,
or it's just like very like it's tasting alcohol in beer is not a flavor that I enjoy. In a cocktail, I really want to taste alcohol,
yeah,
right? But like when we're talking about beers, because it didn't taste it in this, but the smoothness of it and the sweetness was what just like slides you right in. It definitely
yeah.
feels like I'm sliding into the beer, like a two pad stack. You know what I mean?
What
But
what I want from my like high end beers is what you're looking for in those cocktails, right? Like
gotcha.
I don't want it to taste like kind of juice and easy drinking kind of
Yeah,
stuff. I want.
I guess that's true. It definitely you definitely slip into it.
Oh yeah, that part they got.
Yeah.
But like
Um,
there's a lot of tension when you're doing the two pad stack because it's an all or nothing play,
I guess
right?
that's
It's
true.
like.
But it also is that thing that like when you're in a situation, maybe it's like you're playing Magic and you're like, I don't know if they have that counterspell or not. If I go for this attack, if I attack all and they have the card, I lose. But if they don't have the card, I win for sure.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
And you just
classic.
like hit it and go, and you're just like, let's see.
Yeah,
And how easy it is to slip into that. That's what this beer felt like to me, where it's like just attack
yeah,
all.
yeah. You know what? Whatever.
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. And
If they
it's
have it, I
and
can't win anyways.
yeah,
So
and I feel like I attack all probably more than I have to, and it felt right at home with me. I felt
I think sometimes I don't attack all when I could. Like
I well,
generally I attack all when board's clear or like their blocks are terrible or I'm gonna win the game. And I think there's some room to do a little more like attack all and I'll win next turn or I'll win in 2 turns.
mhm,
Like if I just do that. And I think that's a part of my analysis I tend to overlook because I'm like, well, attack all, I would lose 2 creatures and I wouldn't even kill them.
mhm,
And it's like, okay, but maybe you'll kill them in
because of the
two
trades that
turns
had
of
to be made or something.
this. Yeah.
But I mean, it's
Uh,
it's all relative to what's happening. But I do say that I don't know. I like this one, and I don't know. I obviously liked it more than you, so I would probably. It's so hard because like, am I gonna drink this more? Because it's 9%, and I'm trying not to drink.
Okay, but imagine it wasn't like about that, right?
Okay, well then yeah. I think I'd probably just give this diamond because I really liked it, and
Yeah. I think if I were rating this just like by the book, I would say gold.
hmm
If I was trying to ignore the fact that it's 9%, I'd say platinum.
hmm
Like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that it's also 9%, just like you were thinking, oh, is this platinum because it's 9% or
yeah,
whatever? Like, um, yeah, I think part of that is I'm weighing it against other things that are 9%. It's like, can I do better in that field?
yeah.
I'm gonna go with platinum, but the reality is I probably won't drink much of this.
hmm
You know what I mean? So it fits that gold description, but it's definitely solid. Like,
Yeah,
I just think the
definitely
two
is.
pad stack is promising a lot, man. Like that's almost like promising mythic because that's like a
Oh,
save
sure,
that
sure, sure,
happens
sure.
every few years.
Yeah, but it seems so volatile that like it can't hit
True.
mythic.
Yeah, I
I
guess I
don't
was
know.
imagining it promising a successful two pad stack.
Oh,
You know
gotcha.
what I mean? I'm like,
See, for
oh
whatever
man,
reason,
those don't come a lot.
I was imagining that this was just like this is what you
Yeah,
maybe this is what you drink after you fail a two pad stack.
I could see that
Yeah,
actually. As soon
you're
as you
like
said that, I was like, you know what? I could see another angle on
yeah,
this.
where
Yeah.
you're like ah. I tried it and I fucked up again, man. They just went for the other side or they went right over.
Yeah.
I need
You
a
know,
two pad
there are a
stack.
lot of angles on this, just
Hmm.
like you have a lot of angles when the goalie does a two-pad stack.
Yeah. So good. All right. Perfect. Well, I'm glad that our Toronto podcast, or sorry, Toronto slash Hamilton podcast, got to talk about some hockey.
Yeah,
Um, let's go to closing time.
let's do it.
So, hey, folks, if you want to talk to us at all, you can always find us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and also on Instagram.
You may also find us on Arena itself, username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That is ZEULBERG on Twitter and Instagram. I'm also on Twitch as Regular Zach. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is our Discord channel. I go by Regular Jeff, and the link for that should be in the show notes.
That is right. And the best thing you could do to support this podcast would be to go to the Discord and go to the limited section and say, I want to play Peasant Cube. Because we would love to be able to do one of those once a month. And if you were at all interested at the beginning of this episode, just do it, man. We are ready for anybody to show up, and it's a very low barrier to entry. We have all sorts of different like skill levels and everything. It's a lot of fun. Please come in, invite your friends. Maybe we can get 2 pods. It'd be a blast. So come in and play our Peasant Cube. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that holy cow is now a magic card.
Good night.
All right, that's fine.